Hello and welcome, I'm Nikita Kapoor and you're watching the Daily Jagran. In this special segment, I will bring you top stories from diplomacy to courtroom drama to cinematic jailbreak. Everything. Let's begin. Washington DC may be thousands of miles away, but this week it's about to become the unlikely stage for a potential Desi diplomatic face-off that has the whole region watching closely. On one side, Congress MP and India's articulate global voice, Shashi Tharoor. On the other, former Pakistani Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. Yes, you heard that right. Shashi Tharoor versus Bilawal Bhutto. The stage is set. Both leaders are in the United States this week with their respective delegations. Their goal? To muster support for their countries from American lawmakers, think tanks, and political leaders. But this is not just about policy pitches or closed-door meetings. This is about two high-profile politicians, both fluent in diplomacy, media-savvy, and masters of strategies, now possibly crossing paths on American soil. Let's break it down for you. The Indian delegation, led by Shashi Tharoor, is currently on a multi-nation outreach mission after visiting Guyana, Panama, Colombia, and the Brazil. The team's stop is Washington DC now. Now enter Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. He is leading a 9-member Pakistani delegation to the United States with stops in New York and Washington. The objective? Same. To engage with United States policymakers and push Pakistan's strategic interests. So while official schedules remain closely guarded, one thing is clear. Both delegations will be in Washington and around the same time. And that's fueling speculation. Will there be a face-off, direct or indirect? Both Tharoor and Bhutto are no strangers to big stages. Tharoor, a former UN, is known for his fiery speeches, sharp wit, and ability to frame India's position on a global stage. Bilawal Bhutto, the Oxford-educated scion of Pakistan's most influential political dynasty, has made headlines with his bold statements, including sharp criticism of India on international forums. So what happens when the two collide in the world's most watched political capital? Will there be a war of words, a diplomatic sparring match in front of think tanks, journalists, and American lawmakers? Or will it be a more subtle battle of influence and of engagement? This week, diplomacy could take on a dramatic new flavor because this is not just a delegation visit, it's a potential showdown of two powerful personalities, two national perspectives, and two competing narratives. You may be a legendary actor, a cultural icon, even a political voice, but none of that gives you the right to hurt public sentiment. These were not our words, but those of the Karnataka High Court. In a stern message to actor Kamal Hassan, the actor, known much for his cinematic brilliance as for his political landscape, found himself at the receiving end of sharp judicial criticism. At the center of the storm is a statement that has left linguistic pride wounded and regional sentiments inflamed. It began with one comment: Kannada was born out of Tamil. This is what Kamal Hassan said. A sentence that has snowballed into statewide protest, political outrage, and now a courtroom controversy. As Kamal Hassan approached the Karnataka High Court seeking protection for the release of his upcoming film Thug Life, the courtroom instead turned into a stage for accountability, calling out the actor's refusal to apologize for what the judge described as a hurtful and insensitive remark. What makes this issue even more sensitive is the fact that the southern states, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, share deep-rooted linguistic, cultural, and emotional histories. Any comment that even remotely questions or diminishes the origin of a language is bound to spark tension. Kamal Hassan has always pushed boundaries in cinema, in public discourse, and now in politics. But perhaps this is a reminder that with influence comes responsibility, that when artists speak, their words don't echo in isolation, they carry weight. And when that weight lands on the fault lines of language, identity, and pride, it can trigger more than just debates. It can trigger deep resentment. Now, with his film Thug Life slated for release soon, Hassan's legal plea was to ensure smooth screening across Karnataka. But even as the legal process continues, the public backlash remains a reality he cannot ignore. And now he himself has refused to release his film in Karnataka. An earthquake struck Karachi earlier this week. The tremors were mild, but what followed was a full-blown disaster, not of nature but of negligence, in a jailbreak that reads more like a scene from a crime thriller than real life. Over 200 inmates escaped from Karachi jail by using the panic triggered by the earthquake to their advantage. A disaster quite literally turned into an opportunity for criminals behind bars. An earthquake rocked Pakistan. 216 inmates disappeared into the darkness. They fled. Two mild tremors measuring 2.6 and 2.8 on the Richter scale struck Pakistan. These were not large quakes, but they were enough to trigger panic inside the jail, especially in a facility where a wall reportedly collapsed due to the earthquake. More than 600 prisoners were out of their cells at the time of the earthquake. What was supposed to be an evacuation for safety quickly turned into a fleeing scene for more than 200 of them. Just imagine, in a facility supposed to hold criminals under tight security, an entire group used a moment of natural crisis to vanish. And now, 135 of them are still on the run. Let's take a step back. Why were over 600 inmates out of their cells during an earthquake? Where was the security backup? Why wasn't there a contingency plan in place, especially in a facility located in an earthquake-prone region? Pakistan authorities now say that a high-level inquiry has been launched. Among those who fled are individuals facing charges of drug trafficking, serious violence, and other organized crimes. The risk is not just that they have escaped, it's what they might do next. And with 135 still missing, the manhunt is now massive. Karachi has seen over a dozen of back-to-back earthquakes recently. For now, the people of Karachi wait, watch, and hope that 135 fugitives are captured before another disaster, this time man-made, takes shape. An Indian origin man lies unconscious on life support in an Australian hospital. His name is Gaurav Kundi, a 42-year-old Indian origin man now fighting for his life after what's being described as a brutal police arrest in Adelaide's eastern suburbs. The images are haunting, the parallels even more so. For many, this incident is drawing chilling comparisons to George Floyd's death in the United States in 2020. And once again, the question being asked is, when will this stop? It all began when Gaurav Kundi and his partner Amritpal Kaur were having an argument, a heated one, yes, but one that turned life-threatening within minutes. A nearby police patrol, mistaking the couple's argument for a case of domestic violence, intervened. According to local media reports, Kundi had been drinking but was not being aggressive. When he reportedly pushed back against the officers' intervention, they decided to restrain him. And this is where everything spiraled. Gaurav was pinned to the ground. One of the officers allegedly pressed a knee into his neck, and a move now globally condemned after George Floyd case. As per his wife, his head was slammed against the police vehicle and then the ground. Seconds later, he lost consciousness. His partner, Amritpal, recorded the initial part of the arrest. Her voice shaking, pleaded the officers to leave her husband. Today, Gaurav Kundi is in coma. He's suffering from severe brain damage and critical injuries to his cervical nerves. Doctors have told the family maybe he will wake up if his brain works, maybe he won't. That uncertainty is now a nightmare his family must live with. This case is now under intense scrutiny because it's not just about the man being violently restrained, it's about patterns of excessive force, about how unconscious bias, whether rooted in race, accent, or appearance, turns routine calls into moments of crisis. Police brutality is not a local issue anymore, it's a global issue. And when a man ends up brain dead after a misjudged intervention, it's time to stop defending methods and start rethinking mindsets. In the George Floyd case, the world saw justice after months of protest and trial. The outrage was loud and the pain was universal. But what about Gaurav Kundi? Will the world speak up now? Several states across India's northeast are underwater and under immense distress. Relentless rains have triggered floods and landslides, claiming at least 36 lives and impacting more than 5.5 lakh people. Homes are submerged, roads are cut off, schools shut down, and survival for many has become a daily battle. The worst hit state is Assam, where 15 rivers are flowing above danger level. More than 5.35 lakh people have been affected across 22 districts. The death toll in the state has now climbed to 11. Chief Minister Himant Biswa Sarma visited Lakhimpur district, one of the worst hit regions. He assured residents that the government stands with them and that relief measures are being intensified. The devastation is not just in the form of water. Landslides and mudslides have added to the destruction, cutting off access to remote towns and villages. In Sikkim, tragedy struck the armed forces. A landslide hit a military camp. 3 army personnel were killed and 9 others are missing. The landslide was triggered by continuous torrential rain in Arunachal Pradesh. The death toll from floods and landslides has touched 10. The state remains battered by rain, with connectivity in several areas still disrupted. In Manipur, on the other hand, over 19,000 people have been affected. Overflowing rivers and breached embankments have forced many to flee their homes. Relief camps have been set up. The situation is no different in Mizoram. More than 212 roads have been blocked due to mudslides. Entire areas remain cut off. Transport across the region is crippled, with rail, road, and flight services suspended in many flood-hit regions. Crops have been destroyed, livestock lost, and the looming threat of waterborne diseases is now adding to the region's burden. Relief teams are on the ground. The army has been deployed in parts. This is not just a northeast problem. This is an emergency that deserves nationwide attention. For the people of Assam, Arunachal, Sikkim, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Manipur, and Tripura, this monsoon has brought with it tragedy, trauma, and the test of survival. This is all what we have time for in this special segment. For more news and updates, subscribe to the Daily Jagran. You can also log on to thedailyjagran.com. Thanks for tuning in. This is Nikita Kapoor signing off.